My name is Will, and this is a review video for the first midterm for a CSCI 1300. This is question 13. A lot of students struggled with this question. It's asking you to write code on the exam. It's pen and paper. You don't have your computer. You can't test things out in the terminal, so it's definitely tricky. But let's walk through it and see if we can find a solution. Okay, so first things first, what is this question actually asking us to do? Let's see. Write the body of the sum function below. That takes an integer n and returns the sum of all integers from 1 to n. For example, if n equals 3, the function should return 6, since 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. Note, assume that n is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, at first this seems pretty straightforward, right? I think I know how to do this math in my head for the most part. If I have n is 3, then the answer is going to be 1 plus 2 plus 3, that's 6. Maybe if n was 5, what would we do? We would do 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. That's 15. Maybe let's try a tricky one. N is 10, right? We'd have to add up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Adding all those up together, what would that give us? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, we just said was 15. I could add 6, that's 21. 7 makes 28. 8 makes 36. Plus 9 plus 10. So I think 55 is the total there. Now that I look at it, this does seem a little tricky. Good thing we're making the computer do it and not doing it ourselves. Okay, so how do we code something like this? At first it seems pretty tricky. I want my code to do all this addition stuff, but how many times does it do it? When does it end? How do I know which numbers to add up? Because I can't just write, answer equals 1 plus 2 plus 3. Right? That doesn't work because I don't know how many numbers I'm going to need. Right? It might not be 3. So what do we want to do instead? Maybe I can break this problem up, right? When n is 3, it kind of seems like I can break it up into 3 pieces. I start with 1, and then I add 2, and then I add 3. When n is 5, it's in 5 pieces. I start with 1, and then I'm adding 2, and then I'm adding 3, and then I'm adding 4, and then I'm adding 5. Right? So right off the gate, this almost reminds me of loops. I have a thing that I want to do, and I want to do it over and over and over again, right? I have 1, and I want to add something to it, and then I want to add something else to it. 1 plus 2 plus 3. So how might we implement that? Whenever we're thinking about loops, the first question is, which kind of loop? While loop, for loop? I think a for loop works best here. I have numbers, and they're going up one at a time. Maybe I check my cheat sheet and it has an example of a for loop on it, right? For loops usually say int I and they have I++. Maybe that's what I'm doing here. I have 1 and then 2 and then 3. I have 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5. I is just plussing as we go, right? I think I do want a for loop here. Let's give it a try. So I might write something like for int I. What should it start as? I think it starts at 1. I'm looking at my examples that I wrote up here. They all start with 1. Let's try that. Okay, so for for loops, I need 3 things. I create a variable, good start. Then I have to compare the variable. What should I compare it against? The first time we stop at 3, and then the second time we stop at 5, and then this last time we stop all the way at 10. We're always stopping at whatever n is. And that makes sense. We want to add up the numbers up to n. Okay, so it's something like I less than n. With some for loops, it's less than equal to. Do I need an equal sign here? Well, let's think about the last number that we use. The last number here is 3. It equals n. The last number here is 5. It equals 5. I think we want to say less than equals to here. Whew, okay, this loop is getting pretty tough, but we only need one more thing, and it's I++. Each time our I variable is going to increase just by 1. 1, then 2, then 3. Squiggly bracket, just like all for loops have. Okay, what's next? What does our for loop actually do? What code goes inside of it? Like we said, we're adding stuff. Usually when I'm adding, though, I need two things, right? 1 plus 2, or x plus y, right? What are my two things going to be? Well, let's go back to, why were we using a loop in the first place, right? So our idea was start at 1, and then add on the 2, and then add on the 3. Maybe we're going to need another variable here, something to track our progress as we go. Now that I think about it, when I was adding up the n equals 10 out loud, I was doing, each one at a time and remembering what my total was as I went, right? We start at 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. And then I add 3, that gives me 6. And then I add 4, that gives me 10. And then I add 5, that gives me 15. We could make a computer do the same thing. I need a variable. What should I call it? How about answer? It's going to give us the answer, right? So integer answer. What does it start at? I guess we should start at 0, right? That's, kind of how we were adding things. We started with 0 and then added the 1. Okay, so in the loop, I take what my answer is, and I'm going to change it to whatever I had so far plus this new number. And I think that new number is I. Okay, let's see here. Does this work? Normally when I'm programming, I have the terminal, or I have CodeRunner, or I have something. I have some way to check my work. We don't really have that here. It's a pen and paper exam. Maybe we can try and work out the code, right? Let's try n equals 3. That seems like a pretty easy case. So, okay, when I'm doing n equals 3, answer is going to be 0, and then we start the loop. So I is going to be 1, and then I do answer equals answer plus I. So answer equals 0 plus 1. Okay, so answer equals 1. And then I run it again, and I is 2. So answer equals 1 plus 2. Okay, that's 3. Then I becomes 3. And answer equals 3 plus 3. That's 6. Hey, I think that's the right answer. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this code. So, at the end we have that variable answer. It has the answer inside of it. We probably want to do something with it. Normally our function prints or something, right? Let's look at the question. What do we need to do? Write the body for the sum function below. It takes an integer n and returns the sum. So that's the last line of code we're missing. Return answer. I think this works. I feel pretty good about all this, and I hope you do too. If you look at the answer key, this is very similar to the answer that we had on the answer key. We also have a note about a closed form solution. Maybe some of you that are more math savvy know that the answer is just n times n plus 1 over 2. And if that's the way you tackle it on the exam, great. Points for you. Yeah, it's a correct answer, certainly. But this loop answer adds up all the numbers one at a time, and I think it's much easier to look at. In any case, hopefully this helped, and hopefully you understand this problem now. Thanks.